So Biden is going to protect males so that they can play in women's sports and girls' sports as well. He's promised to veto the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act of 2023. Coming up next on the show.
We made too many compromises already, too many retreats, and we fall back. Not again.
Welcome to the Matt Logan Show. Craig?
Just shaking my dang head, man. Creepy Joe strikes again.
We were talking about this off camera, and I don't understand how it's these biological males, frankly, I think creepy pedophiles, that are the ones who are trying to do all this kind of stuff. I mean, this is just a creepy way to make this stuff legal. I'm just, it's disgusting.
Well, first off, there's so many elements to this, but where in the H are all the feminists?
I know.
Where
I've
are
talked about
women
that before, too.
fighting for women's rights? I don't want my daughter to have to compete with boys in her sports.
Well, and women
That's
really.
what it is. I don't care how you dress or how you live your life. You do you. But when you start to compete with people that don't have the same physical makeup, it's not right. And these girls have worked their lives to be in these positions.
We've had a disagreement a bit, and I used to be live and let live, and it's like, yep, that's fine, live and let live. But they're not. No one's doing that anymore on the progressive left. I mean, it's gotten so far out of control that they're forcing their way of life on every part of society that they can. And including where I'm basically saying, drawing the line, because they're going after kids in school, 9-year-olds. The state of Minnesota is becoming a sanctuary state for having surgeries as young as 9 to change their gender. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't change it technically.
Change how you physical. Yeah, it's a mess.
So it's a disaster. It's disgusting to me. It's I mean, there's jokes around, but you can't get a tattoo. You can't go to the bar. You can't buy cigarettes. You can't do all this, but you can come to Minnesota to get a sex change when you're underage. I mean, they're making it a joke, but it's no joke.
It's no joke. And you brought up the state of Minnesota, and I'm not a wrestling fan. My wife was involved with it when she was in high school, but when prepubescent, when kids are young, the boys and the girls wrestle together. But the state of Minnesota has divided wrestling between a boys division and a girls division, and that's how it should be. Teenage girls have a disadvantage physically.
Yes.
In sports, and I like the fact that Minnesota has separated them so that girls wrestle girls and the boys wrestle boys. I don't think that there's much to argue about that. I know that there will be people that will argue that, but how is it fair for a girl that has worked her butt off to be the best in her sport her entire life, and then to have that all taken away from her because she has to compete with a biological male?
And
it's not fair to those girls.
And science says that biological males are physically more superior in general.
Stronger.
Right.
Yep.
And I don't mean...
Trust the science. I mean, that's what's been thrown at us for the last 3 years.
Say. I know.
Trust the science.
And, Riley Gaines, I just pulled up her Twitter here because, she was kidnapped and held against her will at a
couple weeks ago.
Right. They trapped her in...
San Francisco State University or something like that.
Yeah.
Weird.
They trapped her in the room, for like 3 or 4 hours or whatever it was. I can't remember. But she competed against Leah Thomas, a biological male who was like 400 and some odd place in the men's, divisions
swimming,
and stuff like that. And he didn't do very well. And he just had to say, well, I want to be number one, so I'm going to transition, quote unquote. Because I feel like winning, essentially.
Fully intact male in the locker rooms with college women who, how is that not awkward for those women athletes? Number one.
Right.
But how does this make sense? I mean, seriously. Please somebody justify to me how it's fair that biological men should compete in women's sports. So what if LeBron James decides to retire from the NBA, but he still wants to play basketball? You know, he's 50 years old, he's past his prime, but he still wants to play. Well, then why doesn't he just go to the WNBA? Because he can still be competitive there, right? Is that fair?
I think that's a great idea. I think he should do that. He could make millions more.
Or how about if we have some of our best men's hockey players playing for the U.S. women's hockey team? Men that are averaging 200 pounds playing against women that are averaging 150 or 160 pounds and typically faster. And how is that fair? It'd be, which I never even thought of this, but it'd be interesting to see what the Olympics take on this is. Are they going to start letting men compete in women's sports?
They have. They've
Which is
gone
ridiculous.
Yeah, they've gone down that path already, I guess.
And
It's my understanding of it anyway. I haven't looked it up for a while, but
we've talked about that. Live your life the way you want to live. But I don't care. Honestly, I don't care. You do you. But when it comes to something like this, and I take it personally because I have a daughter that in a few years is going to be in competitive sports, I don't feel that it's fair for her to have to compete with biological boys.
have you been to another country, specifically a country that they drive on the opposite side of the road as we do?
Yes, it was an island in the Caribbean, but yes.
Okay. Did you drive yourself or?
Thank God, no, we didn't.
Okay. I've driven in countries that you drive on the opposite side of the road as we do in the United States. I've rented a car. And it's the question that I would ask is, do you then drive on the right side of the road that you're used to, or do you drive on the left side of the road?
You have to drive on the side of the road that the rules say.
Because that's part of the societal rules,
Absolutely.
right? And
And
so
it's
otherwise you
self-preservation.
crash. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Otherwise you crash and you die.
Yep.
And potentially kill other people. And that's the thing. But what you can't do is you can't change your biology. You are a male or you're a female. And there's that really rare percentage of I can't remember the technical term, that they're a little bit a hermaphrodite, maybe. Is that the kind of, that's what how they call it or whatever briefly, but it's still,
which is a chromosomal abnormality to my understanding.
yes, which is
extremely rare,
beyond rare.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the thing. It's like you're not talking about that type of a thing. You are talking about a clear male. Maybe that male has a little bit more feminine qualities. Okay, I mean, that's really possible.
Yeah.
But then the genetics aren't different.
Right.
But then you have females that are women that are more like tomboyish, is what it used to be called, and a few more almost considered masculine attributes.
Yeah, there are women that are very masculine, but they're still women.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. It's like, protect those X's and Y's and X and X, and that's what those are the rules. You have the left side of the road and the right side of the road. You drive on what side you're supposed to.
Why are women not trying to compete in men's sports, but yet men are trying to compete in women's sports?
Right.
Because they have a biological freaking advantage.
There are some women that are trying to do football with, and there's some of that kind of stuff,
but they're not typically competing at the high levels.
No.
There are girls in high school that have played on boys' football teams.
Right.
But they're, that's very rare.
It's extremely
And
rare.
they're not typically going to college or professional sports or taking trophies away from the men.
So how about, I don't know when it was, I don't remember, but there's all kinds of different times throughout history where basketball became a woman's sport also, and they had their own women's leagues, and same with like different soccer, and list goes on, right? Well, why don't they, instead of trying to say that this is a biological male can now join a woman's team or compete against biological women, why don't they start a third category? I don't see any of that being suggested.
Because there isn't enough population.
Because it's a small percentage, and they would never compete against themselves.
Yeah.
And because they can't, because they want limelight and they want domination and all these other things. Yes, domination. I said it. And people have criticized me when I have conversations. I haven't said it quite like that publicly like this, but when I've had conversations and people criticize me, you look at this and it's about dominating.
Mm-hmm. I had friends in high school.
And that's what we're all supposed to fight against.
Right. Exactly.
All of us.
I had a friend in high school that she played boys hockey because there wasn't a girls program, but there is now. And same with girls in wrestling. There weren't female wrestling programs, but there are now, which is great. That's awesome. Girls want to do some of those sports, and there's been enough growth in those sports where they've done their own divisions, which is great. So the girls compete against girls. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But why would a man want to compete against women and feel that it's fair to do that? It's just genetically not fair.
Did you see the James O'Keefe video with Dylan Mulvaney confronting Dylan Mulvaney, asking him about, when clips of it went viral just a couple days ago, or 3 or 4 days ago probably. And James O'Keefe confronted Dylan, which didn't answer any questions, but confronted him about, or her, whatever you want to, confront Dylan about why there were so many women in prison being raped and impregnated by trans men. Because if you say you're a trans man, and there was no answer, what about women then? What about how, all of these things? And that kind of stuff is happening. Mm-hmm. And we've covered it. Mm-hmm. We've covered high schools that have supposed trans male and literally raped twice. One was attempted rape, one was rape. Mm-hmm. A female.
We've talked about it on this program.
Yes, this is all it is a different tactic disguised in a different mask for dominating people of whatever.
Predators.
Predators, yes, thank you. That's all that it is. And they're trying to make it legal. Why?
Calling a spade a spade. It's
Why?
Predators. It's predatory.
Why are they trying to make that kind of stuff legal? That's the question that nobody wants to ask or answer. I don't know, but
it's sick. It's absolutely sick. You live your life the way you want, but you're way past tiptoeing the lines when you're trying to get into women's locker rooms or boys' locker rooms. It's not appropriate.
It's not.
And this isn't me being a prude. This is me thinking of my daughter and protecting my daughter for somebody that shouldn't be in her locker room.
Right.
When you have junior high phi ed, you don't have the male gym teachers in the female locker room. You don't have the female gym teachers in the boys' locker room. It's not appropriate. So why is this appropriate?
Yeah, it's not.
No, it's not.
So Biden, don't veto it, you creep.
Sniffing Joe.
Yeah, I don't know. Anything else?
Yes, but we don't have enough time.
How about we F it? You see that? F it. Faith, family, and freedom. You can find that on my website. Check the link below or above, wherever you're at. Also, ask Matt at mattloganspeaks.com for your comment, suggestion, or snide remark. See you next time.